Ukrainian unmanned systems units, such as the brigade known for its Magyar medium-range drone operations, hitting dozens of ships in succession. In a single night, 8 Russian oil tankers were damaged or destroyed. In the following days, the number quickly rose, with 10 vessels in another operation, including oil tankers and ferries. On July 12th, the commander of the Ukrainian drone forces reported 14 ships hit on that day alone, including 10 oil tankers and 4 ferries. In total, about 116 Russian vessels were reported as targets in the previous 8 days. Most of these ships belong to Russia's shadow fleet, used to circumvent international sanctions and supply the Crimean Peninsula. Each affected tanker, with a capacity of around 7,000 tons, represents a direct loss in the logistics chain that sustains Russian forces in southern Ukraine. The Sea of Azov serves as the main route for this fuel, ammunition, and equipment that reach the Russian army in Crimea, and from there are sent to the front lines in Kherson and Zaporizhia. Crimea was annexed by Russia in 2014 and turned into a base. The Black Sea Fleet's main base depends heavily on these maritime routes. The Kerch Bridge, which has been targeted in previous attacks, already limits the land flow. Now, Ukrainian drones are adding pressure on maritime traffic. Local Russian authorities on the peninsula have declared a state of emergency recently due to fuel shortages. Gas stations have suspended sales to the public, prioritizing government agencies and security forces. Power outages have hit major cities like Sevastopol and Yevpatoria after impacts on electrical substations. These attacks are not limited to Crimea. Ukrainian drones have also reached oil refineries inside Russia, including a major facility in Omsk, Siberia, as well as installations in Tatarstan and other regions. The clear goal is to degrade Russia's ability to sustain prolonged operations, both militarily and economically. Each damaged oil tanker or affected refinery forces Russia to divert resources for protection, repairs, or longer and more costly alternative routes. This pressure on Russia's rear directly affects Vladimir Putin's strategy. Crimea is not just territory, it's symbolic territory. It houses naval bases, logistics centers, and serves as a platform for projecting power in the Black Sea. When the fuel supply is compromised, fleet operations and support for troops on the ground suffer. Sources close to Kremlin indicate that these recent attacks have strengthened Putin's position against any peace negotiations at the moment. Instead of giving in, President Rousseff chose to maintain the military effort. That's when the biggest threat happened. If you want to watch this full video and have access to exclusive content only for members, become a channel member by simply clicking this join button. During a visit to an exhibition in Moscow called Everything for Victory, Putin made a direct statement. He stated that Russia would respond to Ukrainian attacks. In response to attacks on its territory, the Russian leader added that these retaliatory strikes would be several times more powerful and would increase in scale. The sentence was not isolated. It came in the context of Ukrainian operations that targeted not only ships, but also Russian energy and logistics infrastructure near the borders and in the Sea of Azov region. What is Putin signaling with this promise of a greater scale? Russia has proven capability to launch large, massive waves of cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones against Ukrainian targets. Recent attacks on Kyiv and other cities show a pattern: combined salvos that overwhelm air defenses. A response several times more powerful, suggesting an increase in the volume of projectiles, the frequency of attacks, and possibly the selection of targets with greater strategic or economic value. Military analyses point to possible focus areas including Ukrainian energy infrastructure, Black Sea ports like Odessa, and logistical facilities that support Ukrainian forces. Russia has already demonstrated the ability to hit refineries and power grids in previous campaigns. Now, with this signal of escalation, the pace of these attacks is expected to increase, aiming to create similar difficulties to those that Ukraine imposed on Russian logistics in Crimea. Short and medium-range ballistic missiles, long-range drones, and possibly more advanced systems could be used in greater numbers to saturate Ukrainian defenses, which are already operating under constant pressure. This dynamic creates a cycle of action and reaction. Ukraine uses relatively cheap drones to hit expensive and hard-to-replace assets, such as tankers and refineries. Russia, in turn, responds with conventional and precision firepower against targets on Ukrainian territory. The result is just a war of attrition extended beyond the front line, where each side tries to impose increasing costs on the opponent. Putin's statement comes at a time of additional tensions. Efforts by the United States to mediate negotiations and peace face obstacles. Russian sources indicate that recent Ukrainian attacks have managed to push away any possibility of bringing Moscow closer to negotiation talks, as long as these operations continue. At the same time, Ukraine maintains asymmetric pressure behind Russian lines, seeking, of course, to weaken Moscow's ability to sustain operations in the south. The coming days and weeks will likely bring an increase in the intensity of aerial and drone clashes. Become a member to watch this full video and get exclusive member content. Just click here on the join button. Now, I want to know your opinion. What do you think Putin will do from now on? Devastating attacks, but with conventional missiles or nuclear attacks? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos.